First contact. The Galians of Nestoria Prime had never seen anything quite like it. A ball of fire streaked across their purple sky, leaving a trail of smoke and debris in its wake. The object crashed into the vast crimson plains, sending tremors through the ground that could be felt for miles around. Curious onlookers gathered at a safe distance, their tall, willowy bodies swaying in the warm breeze. Their large, multifaceted eyes reflected the flames that continued to lick at the crash site. Among them was Zixera, a young Galian scientist whose tentacle-like appendages twitched with excitement. "We must investigate," Zixera exclaimed, her voice a melodic trill that carried over the murmurs of the crowd. "This could be our first contact with beings from beyond our world." The elders, towering figures with iridescent skin that shimmered in the light of Nestoria's twin suns, conferred among themselves. After what seemed like an eternity to the impatient Zixera, they nodded their assent. "Proceed with caution," warned Elder Voxnim, his voice deep and resonant. "We know not what dangers this visitor may bring." Zixera led a small team towards the crash site, their protective suits designed to withstand the heat that still radiated from the twisted metal. As they approached, a hatch in the side of the craft suddenly burst open, causing the Galians to recoil in surprise. From the smoking wreckage emerged a figure so small that at first, Zixera thought it must be a child. But as the being stumbled forward, coughing and wheezing, she realized this was no Galian offspring. It was something entirely different. The creature stood barely taller than Zixera's knee. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a round head with a tuft of fur on top. Its skin was pale and smooth, nothing like the textured, color-shifting hide of the Galians. As it looked up at them with small, round eyes, Zixera felt a mixture of fascination and pity. "By the twin suns," whispered one of her companions. "It's so tiny. Do you think it's someone's pet?" Zixera shook her head, her sensory tendrils waving in disagreement. "No, look at its coverings. Those are not decorations. They appear to be protective gear." This being piloted that craft. The small creature suddenly spoke, uttering sounds that were completely foreign to the Galians. It gestured wildly with its diminutive limbs, pointing at the crashed ship and then at itself. "It's trying to communicate," Zixera observed. "We should bring it back to the city. The linguists can study its language, and we can learn more about where it came from." With gentle movements, Zixera reached down and scooped up the tiny being. It squirmed at first, but then seemed to relax, perhaps realizing it was in no condition to resist or flee. As they made their way back to the gathered crowd, whispers and gasps rippled through the assembly. Many Galians craned their long necks to get a better look at the strange creature cradled in Zixera's arms. "What is it? Where did it come from? Is it dangerous?" The questions flew fast and furious. But Zixera had no answers. All she knew was that this small being represented something monumental, proof that they were not alone in the universe. In the days that followed, the creature, which they learned called itself a human and went by the name Alex, was kept in a specially prepared chamber in the Hall of Science. Kixalian experts from various fields came to observe and interact with Alex, marveling at the being's resilience and apparent intelligence. Zixera spent countless hours with the human, meticulously documenting every interaction. She was amazed at how quickly Alex seemed to pick up on their language, starting with simple gestures and progressing to basic words and phrases. It was on the 10th day after the crash when Alex managed to string together a coherent sentence in the Galian tongue. "Thank you for saving me," Alex said, the words coming out slowly but clearly. Zixera's sensory tendrils quivered with excitement. "You're welcome," she replied, enunciating carefully. "Can you tell us more about yourself? Where do you come from?" Alex pointed upward. "From far, very far, planet called Earth." The concept of other planets was not new to the Galians, but the idea that beings could travel between them was revolutionary. They had long theorized about the possibility, but had never achieved it themselves. Why did you come here? Zix-Era asked, her fascination growing with each exchange. Alex's face contorted in what Zix-Era would later learn was an expression of frustration. Not plan. Accident. Ship. Malfunction. As the days turned into weeks, Alex's grasp of the Galian language improved rapidly. The human explained concepts that were mind-boggling to the Galians. Faster than light travel, a galactic community of various species, and technologies that seemed like magic to the relatively isolated Nestorians. But what puzzled the Galians most was Alex's insistence on being an engineer. They understood the concept of building and creating, but the specialized nature of Alex's knowledge was hard for them to grasp. I build machines, solve problems. Alex tried to explain one day, gesturing with those small dexterous hands. But not all problems. Specific problems. Zix-Era and her fellow scientists nodded, but it was clear they didn't fully understand. In their society, those who built things were expected to be able to build anything. The idea of specialization was foreign to them. As Alex's strength returned and communication became easier, the human began to ask questions about Galian society and technology. The Galians were proud of their achievements, their harmonious society, their sustainable cities that blended seamlessly with the natural environment, their mastery of biological sciences. But Alex seemed particularly interested in their mechanical technologies, often frowning or looking puzzled when examining Galian devices. The human would mutter things like inefficient or overcomplicated, but when pressed for explanations, would struggle to convey the complex engineering principles that informed these judgments. Weeks turned into months, and Alex became a fixture in Galian society. The initial fear and suspicion gave way to curiosity and even affection. Many Galians found the human small size endearing, and Alex's quick wit and problem-solving abilities earned respect among the scientific community. Yet there was always a sense that they were only scratching the surface of what this human was capable of. Alex often seemed frustrated by the limitations of their communication and the vast differences in technological understanding between humans and Galians. It was Zix-Era who first began to truly appreciate the depth of Alex's knowledge. One day, as they were discussing Galian energy production methods, Alex sketched out a rough diagram of something called a nuclear reactor. The concept was so advanced, so elegant in its complexity, that Zix-Era felt a shiver of excitement run through her entire body. This could revolutionize our entire civilization. She breathed, her eyes wide as she studied the diagram. Alex shrugged, a gesture the Galians had come to recognize as a sign of modesty or understatement. It's basic. On Earth, children learn this. The implications of that statement were staggering. If this was considered basic knowledge on Earth, what other wonders did humans possess? And more importantly, what could the Galians learn from this small, unassuming creature who had quite literally fallen from the sky? As the first of Nestoria's twin suns began to set, casting a golden glow across the crimson plains, Zix-Era made a decision. She would petition the elders to allow Alex greater freedom and resources. It was clear now that this human was not just a curiosity or a pet, but a wellspring of knowledge that could propel their civilization to new heights. Little did Zix-Era know that this decision would set in motion a chain of events that would not only change Galian society forever, but also test the limits of human ingenuity in ways Alex could never have imagined. The true challenges and the real demonstration of humanity's unique abilities were yet to come. Understanding and misunderstanding. The Galian council chamber was abuzz with excited chatter. Elders, scientists, and curious citizens had gathered to hear Zix-Era's proposal regarding the human, Alex. The chamber's bioluminescent walls pulsed with an array of colors, reflecting the mixed emotions of those present. Elder Voxnim raised his long, slender arms, calling for silence. Zix-Era, you have called this meeting to discuss our guest. Proceed. Zix-Era stepped forward, her iridescent skin shimmering with nervous energy. Esteemed elders, Fellow Xalians, I come before you today to propose that we grant Alex, our human visitor, greater access to our society and resources. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Voxnim's multifaceted eyes narrowed. And why should we do this? The creature has been treated well, has it not? Indeed, Elder, Zixera agreed. But I believe we have only scratched the surface of what we can learn from Alex. The human possesses knowledge that could revolutionize our world. To demonstrate her point, Zixera activated a holographic display, showing the diagram of the nuclear reactor that Alex had sketched. As she explained the basic principles, gasps of awe and disbelief echoed through the chamber. This is but one example, Zixera continued. Alex speaks of technologies that seem like magic to us. Faster than light travel, energy sources beyond our comprehension, medical advancements that could extend our lifespans exponentially. The council chamber erupted into excited discussions. Elder Cazalor, known for her cautious nature, raised a concern. But how can we trust this information? How do we know this tiny being isn't exaggerating or, worse, deceiving us? It was at this moment that Alex, who had been quietly observing from a specially constructed platform, spoke up. Months of immersion had greatly improved the human's command of the Galian language. Respected elders, Alex began, voice clear and confident despite its alien timbre. I understand your concerns. On my world, we too approach the unknown with caution. But I assure you, I have no intention of deceiving you. I am an engineer, a problem solver. It is my nature, my calling, to help and to build. The chamber fell silent, all eyes fixed on the small figure standing tall despite being dwarfed by the Galians around it. In the time I've spent here, Alex continued, I've come to admire your society, your harmony with nature, your pursuit of knowledge, your peaceful coexistence. These are ideals we strive for on Earth. I only wish to contribute, to repay your kindness, and perhaps to find a way home. Elder Voxnim leaned forward, intrigued. You speak of being an engineer, yet when we've asked you to help with various tasks, you've claimed to be not that kind of engineer. Explain this contradiction. Alex nodded, understanding the confusion. On Earth, engineering is a vast field with many specializations. I am a spacecraft propulsion engineer. I design engines for vessels that travel between stars. While I have a broad understanding of many scientific principles, my expertise is focused. This concept seemed to perplex many of the Galians present. In their society, those who built were expected to be able to build anything. The idea of such narrow specialization was foreign to them. Zixera seized this moment to support Alex's case. This is precisely why we need to learn more. The human way of accumulating and applying knowledge is different from ours. There could be great benefits in understanding and potentially adopting some of their methods. As the debate continued, a young Galian burst into the chamber, his skin flashing urgent patterns of distress. Elders, scientists, we've detected something troubling. All attention turned to the newcomer. Elder Voxnim gestured for him to continue. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive object moving through our solar system, the young Galian reported, activating a holographic display. It appears to be on a collision course with Nestoria Prime. The image showed a large, irregularly shaped mass hurtling through space. Calculations scrolled alongside, predicting its trajectory and time to impact. Panic began to spread through the chamber. The Galians had never faced a threat of this magnitude before. Their technology, while advanced in many ways, had never been designed to deal with cosmic-scale dangers. In the midst of the growing chaos, Alex's voice cut through the noise. I might be able to help. All eyes turned once again to the small human. On Earth, we have protocols for dealing with potentially hazardous near-Earth objects, Alex explained. While I'm not a planetary defense specialist, I understand the basic principles. With your resources and my knowledge, we might be able to devise a solution. Elder Voxnim studied Alex intently. You believe you can save our world, tiny one. Alex met the elder's gaze steadily. I believe that together, we can try. Isn't that worth the risk? A moment of silence fell over the chamber as the Gallians considered the human's words. Then, slowly, Elder Voxnim nodded. Very well, he declared. Zixera, you will work with Alex. You will have access to whatever resources you need. The fate of our world may well rest in your hands, and in the mind of this small, strange creature from the stars. As the council chamber emptied, Gazalians rushing to their assigned emergency roles, Zixera turned to Alex. I hope you truly can help us, she said, her voice tinged with worry. Alex looked up at her, a determined glint in those alien eyes. So do I, Zixera. So do I. Over the next few days, Alex worked tirelessly with the Gazalian scientists, explaining concepts of orbital mechanics, gravitational slingshots, and the use of nuclear devices for cosmic object deflection. The language barrier and vast differences in scientific approach led to frequent misunderstandings and frustrations. No, Alex sighed, erasing a complex equation from a holographic display. We're not trying to destroy the object. We need to change its trajectory just enough to miss Nestoria Prime. Zixera's sensory tendrils twitched in confusion. But surely destroying the threat would be safer. Alex shook his head. Breaking it apart could create multiple impact events. We need precision, not brute force. As they worked, Alex began to appreciate the unique strengths of Galian technology. Their biological computers, which used living neural networks, could process certain types of data faster than any silicon-based system on Earth. Their material science, based on manipulating the fundamental properties of matter at a quantum level, offered possibilities that made Alex's mind reel with potential applications. Yet, for all their advancements, the Gallians lacked experience in space exploration and cosmic-scale engineering. Their focus had always been inward, on perfecting their own world rather than reaching for the stars. One evening, as they took a brief rest from their labors, Zixera found Alex staring out a window at the night sky, where the threatening object was now visible as a dim smudge among the stars. Alex, she began hesitantly. I must ask, why are you helping us? You owe us nothing. You could have kept your knowledge to yourself, used it to bargain for a way home. Alex was quiet for a moment before responding. On Earth, we have a saying, with great power comes great responsibility. The knowledge I have, it's not just mine. It's the culmination of centuries of human scientific achievement. To withhold that in the face of such danger, it wouldn't be right. Zixera's multifaceted eyes shimmered with an emotion Alex couldn't quite identify. You humans are strange creatures, she said softly. So small, yet you think on such a grand scale. Alex chuckled. We kind of have to. The universe is big and scary. We've had to learn to think big just to survive. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call. One of the Galian scientists had made a breakthrough in adapting their quantum manipulation technology to Alex's deflection plan. As they rushed back to the lab, Alex felt a surge of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, the combination of human ingenuity and Galian technology would be enough to save this world. But as the celestial intruder grew ever larger in Nestoria's sky, Alex knew that the real test was yet to come. The plan was sound in theory, but putting it into practice would push both human and Galian to their limits. The fate of an entire civilization now rested on the shoulders of a stranded human engineer and a species that, until recently, had never looked beyond their own atmosphere. The countdown to either triumph or catastrophe had begun. The impending doom. The Galian city of Luminera was a hive of activity. The once peaceful metropolis, with its graceful bioengineered structures that seemed to grow from the very earth, now buzzed with an undercurrent of fear and determination. In the central plaza, a massive holographic display showed the approaching celestial object, now officially named Nemesis by the Galian Council. Inside the hastily assembled command center, Alex stood on an elevated platform, surrounded by a team of Galian scientists and engineers. The human's small stature was almost comical next to the towering aliens, but the respect in their eyes as they looked to Alex for guidance was unmistakable. "All right," Alex began, gesturing to the complex 3D model floating before them. "Let's go over the plan one more time." Zixera stepped forward, her iridescent skin pulsing with a mix of anxiety and excitement. "We've adapted our quantum manipulation technology to create a series of gravity wells," she explained, pointing to specific points in the model. "These should help guide our deflection vessel into the correct position." Alex nodded approvingly. "Good. And the vessel itself?" A gruff-looking Galian named Krolthu responded, his voice a low rumble. "We've outfitted our largest atmospheric scrubber with the propulsion system you designed. It's not pretty, but it should get the job done." "It doesn't need to be pretty," Alex said with a grim smile. "It just needs to work." As the team continued to discuss the finer points of their plan, Elder Voxnim entered the command center. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the respected leader. "How go our preparations?" Voxnim asked, his multifaceted eyes scanning the assembled group. Alex took a deep breath before responding. "We're as ready as we can be, given the time constraints. But I have to be honest, Elder. This plan, it's never been attempted before, not by humans, and certainly not by Galians. The risks are enormous." Voxnim's gaze settled on the small human. "And the alternative?" "Total annihilation," Alex said quietly. A heavy silence fell over the room. The weight of their responsibility pressed down on every being present. Voxnim nodded solemnly. "Then we have no choice but to proceed. May the twin suns guide us." As the elder left, the team returned to their preparations with renewed vigor. Time was running short, and there was still much to do. Over the next few days, Alex worked tirelessly alongside the Galians. The humans' expertise in spacecraft propulsion proved invaluable as they modified the atmospheric scrubber for its new purpose. But it wasn't just Alex's technical knowledge that made a difference. The humans' ability to think creatively, to approach problems from angles the Galians had never considered, continually amazed Zixera and the others. When faced with a power distribution issue that threatened to derail the entire project, Alex suggested a solution inspired by the bioluminescent properties of Galian architecture. The resulting hybrid system was unlike anything either species had created before. As the launch date approached, tensions ran high. The modified vessel, dubbed Hope's Arrow by the Galian public, stood ready on its launch pad. Its ungainly form, a blend of organic Galian design and hastily added human-inspired technology, was a testament to the unprecedented collaboration between the two species. The night before the launch, Alex stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city. The sky was clear, and Nemesis was now clearly visible, a malevolent eye glaring down at the world it threatened to destroy. Zixera found the human there, lost in thought. "You should rest," she said gently. "Tomorrow will be a challenging day." Alex turned, offering a weak smile. "I know. I just can't stop thinking about everything that could go wrong." Zixera's sensory tendrils waved in a gesture of understanding. "You've done all you can, Alex. We all have. But what if it's not enough?" Alex's voice was barely a whisper. "Your entire civilization is at stake, if I've made even the smallest miscalculation." Zixera surprised the human by reaching out and gently lifting Alex's chin with one of her delicate appendages. "Listen to me, Alex. Whether we succeed or fail tomorrow, you have already changed our world. You've shown us possibilities we never imagined, taught us to look beyond our own atmosphere. Whatever happens, the Galians will never be the same." Alex blinked rapidly, and Zixera realized the human's eyes were glistening with moisture. "Another fascinating biological difference," she noted absently. "Thank you, Zixera," Alex said, voice thick with emotion. I couldn't have asked for a better friend on an alien world. As the twin suns began to rise, casting a purple-gold glow across Luminara, Alex and Zixera made their way to the launch site. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation and fear. Hope's arrow stood proud and tall, its hybrid form a symbol of what could be achieved when two very different species worked together. Alex felt a surge of pride mixed with trepidation. This ungainly vessel carried the hopes and dreams of an entire civilization. The countdown began. Xalian voices chanted in their melodic language, a prayer to the twin suns for protection and success. Alex, standing at the main control panel, ran through final checks with a focus born of years of training and the knowledge that failure was not an option. T-minus 60 seconds, announced Krolthu, his usually gruff voice tinged with nervousness. Alex looked up at the assembled Galian team. No matter what happens, the human said, it has been an honor to work with all of you. Zixera's skin rippled with emotion. The honor has been ours, Alex of Earth. T-minus 30 seconds. Alex's hands flew over the control panel, making last-second adjustments. The human's small size, once seen as a weakness by the Galians, now proved to be an advantage. Fingers moved with a speed and precision that the larger, tentacle-like appendages of the Galians couldn't match. T-minus 10 seconds. The entire city seemed to hold its breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Hope's arrow roared to life, its hybrid engines glowing with an otherworldly light. The ground shook as the vessel lifted off, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. Alex's eyes were glued to the telemetry data streaming across the screens. Initial trajectory looks good, the human reported. Gravity wells are functioning as expected. For several tense minutes, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Hope's arrow climbed higher and higher, pushing through Nestoria's atmosphere and into the black void of space. Then suddenly, alarms blared across the control room. What's happening? Zixera cried, her skin flashing distress patterns. Alex's hands were a blur over the controls. We're losing power to the main deflector array. The human said, voice tight with concentration. The quantum field is destabilizing. Krolthu's voice boomed from across the room. Can we abort? Bring it back. Alex shook her head. No. We're committed now. If we can't deflect Nemesis, Nestoria Prime is doomed. The control room erupted into chaos as Galian scientists and engineers scrambled to find a solution. But Alex tuned it all out, mind racing through possibilities. In that moment, as alarms blared and hope seemed to be slipping away, Alex remembered something from the early days on Nestoria Prime, a conversation about Xalian biotechnology, about how they could manipulate living systems at a fundamental level. Zixera. Alex shouted above the din, your bio-neural networks. Can we use them to stabilize the quantum field? Zixera's eyes widened in realization. Theoretically, yes. But we've never attempted anything like that at this scale. The strain on the operator would be enormous. We don't have a choice, Alex said grimly. It's our only shot. As Zixera rushed to make the necessary connections, Alex turned back to the main console. Hope's arrow was nearing its intercept point with Nemesis. Everything would come down to the next few minutes. With a flash of bioluminescence, Zixera signaled that the bio-neural link was ready. Alex took a deep breath, placed hands on the newly formed interface, and dove into a world where biology and technology merged in ways the human had never imagined. The fate of Nestoria Prime now rested on the shoulders of a single human, using alien technology in ways it was never designed for, to save a world that only months ago Alex never knew existed. As Nemesis loomed large in Hope's arrow sensors, Alex focused every ounce of will on one thought. Change course, just a little. Please. The entire control room held its breath, watching as the titanic celestial ballet played out on their screens. Would it be enough? Or would they witness the last moments of their civilization? The answer would come in the next crucial minutes, as Hope's arrow made its final approach to Nemesis, carrying with it the combined ingenuity of two very different species and the desperate hopes of an entire world. Preparations and revelations. Time seemed to stand still in the Gallian control room. All eyes were fixed on the massive holographic display showing Hope's arrow's approach to Nemesis. Alex's small form was rigid with concentration, hands pressed firmly against the bioneural interface. Through the link, Alex could feel the quantum field surrounding Hope's arrow. It was unlike anything the human had ever experienced, a sea of probability and potential, shifting and swirling with every minute adjustment. The Gallian bioneural network translated this incomprehensible data into something Alex's human brain could process and influence. Distance to intercept: 10,000 kilometers, Krolthu announced, his usually gruff voice tight with tension. Alex gritted her teeth, pushing against the overwhelming flood of sensory input. The human's mind raced, calculating trajectories and force vectors, trying to find the perfect moment to unleash their deflector array. 5,000 kilometers. Zixera watched in awe as Alex's skin began to shimmer with a faint bioluminescence, a side effect of the deep connection with Gallian technology. Incredible, she whispered. 2,000 kilometers. Sweat beaded on Alex's forehead. The strain of interfacing with the alien technology was taking its toll. But the human pushed on, driven by a determination that amazed the watching Gallians. 1,000 kilometers. Initiating deflector array. The room filled with a high-pitched whine as Hope's arrow unleashed its full power. On the holographic display, a shimmering web of energy burst forth from the ship, enveloping Nemesis. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, imperceptibly at first, Nemesis began to shift its course. "It's working," Zixera cried, her skin flashing patterns of joy and disbelief. But their celebration was premature. Alarms blared as Hope's arrow's systems began to overload under the immense strain. "We're losing structural integrity," Krolthu shouted. "The ship can't take much more of this." Alex, still deep in the bioneural link, could feel Hope's arrow's pain as if it were her own. The human's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then, in a flash of inspiration, Alex remembered something from the early days of the project. The quantum manipulation technology. Alex gasped, eyes still closed in concentration. "We can use it to reinforce the ship's structure." Zixera's eyes widened in understanding. "But that would mean diverting power from the deflector array." "We don't have a choice," Alex grunted. "If the ship breaks apart, we lose everything." With a series of rapid commands through the bioneural interface, Alex began to redirect the ship's energy. It was a delicate balance, maintaining enough power to the deflector array to keep nudging Nemesis off course, while simultaneously using the quantum manipulation technology to hold Hope's arrow together. The next few minutes were the longest of Alex's life. Every fiber of the human's being was focused on this task, pushing the limits of both human endurance and Gallian technology. Gradually, agonizingly, Nemesis continued to veer off course. Hope's arrow shuddered and groaned but held together. "New trajectory calculations coming in," Krolthu announced, his voice filled with growing excitement. "Nemesis will miss Nestoria Prime by 50,000 kilometers." The control room erupted in cheers and flashing bioluminescence. But Alex remained focused, guiding Hope's arrow through the final moments of its mission. As Nemesis passed by, its gravitational pull tugging at the ship, Alex made one final push. With the last reserves of the ship's energy, the human triggered a series of controlled quantum fluctuations, further nudging the celestial body away from Nestoria Prime's orbital path. Only when Nemesis had safely passed did Alex finally release her grip on the bioneural interface. The human swayed, exhausted beyond measure, and would have fallen if not for Zixera's quick reflexes. "You did it, Alex," Zixera said softly, supporting the human's small form. "You saved our world." Alex managed a weak smile. We did it. All of us. Together. As the reality of their narrow escape sank in, the mood in the control room shifted from jubilation to awe. The Galians looked at the small human with new eyes, finally understanding the true potential of this alien visitor. Elder Voxnim stepped forward, his usually stoic demeanor replaced by one of deep respect. "Alex of Earth," he intoned, his voice carrying the weight of his position, "you have done more than save our world. You have opened our eyes to the true wonders of the universe." Alex, still leaning heavily on Zixera, shook her head. "I only showed you what was already inside you. The courage to face the unknown, the willingness to try the impossible. These are qualities your people already possessed. I just gave you a little push." Voxnim's multifaceted eyes sparkled with an emotion Alex couldn't quite identify. "Perhaps, but in doing so, you have changed us forever. The Galian people will never again be content to look only inward. You have given us the stars, Alex of Earth." As the twin suns set on this momentous day, casting the sky in shades of purple and gold, Alex stood on the balcony of the Hall of Science, looking up at the stars. Zixera joined her, a comfortable silence falling between them. "What will you do now?" Zixera asked eventually. Alex sighed, a mix of emotions playing across the human's face. "I don't know. My ship is beyond repair. Earth is so far away." Zixera's skin rippled with determination. "Then we shall find a way to get you home. You have given us so much, Alex. Allow us to return the favor." Alex turned to her friend, eyes glistening. "You would do that?" "Of course," Zixera said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "But not just yet. First, there is much we can learn from each other." And she added, her skin flushing with excitement, "There are so many new technologies to explore. Think of what we could achieve by combining our knowledge." Alex couldn't help but laugh. "You sound like a human scientist now, always eager for the next discovery." "Perhaps," Zixera agreed, her tone playful. "But isn't that what you've taught us? To always look forward, to never stop exploring." As they stood there, a human and a Galian, looking up at the vast expanse of space, Alex felt a sense of peace settle over her. The journey home would be long and filled with challenges, but it would also be an adventure unlike any other. And who knew? Perhaps by the time they figured out how to send Alex back to Earth, the Galians would be ready to join the galactic community. The thought filled Alex with excitement and pride. The human might have come to Nestoria Prime by accident, but in doing so, had forged a connection between two vastly different species, a connection that would ripple across the stars for generations to come. As the first stars began to twinkle in the alien sky, Alex smiled. The universe, it seemed, was full of unexpected heroes and unlikely friendships. And that, the human decided, was the greatest adventure of all. Triumph of ingenuity. 5 years had passed since the day Alex and the Galians had saved Nestoria Prime from destruction. The planet had changed in ways that would have been unimaginable before the humans' arrival. The once insular civilization had embraced a new era of scientific discovery and cosmic exploration. On the outskirts of Luminara, a massive structure dominated the skyline, the Interstellar Cooperation and Research Center. Its design was a harmonious blend of Galian bioarchitecture and human-inspired engineering, a physical representation of the partnership that had flourished between the two species. Inside one of the center's main laboratories, Alex stood before a holographic display, manipulating complex equations with practiced ease. The human had adapted well to life on Nestoria Prime, though the sight of a small, fur-topped being among the towering Galians still drew curious glances from visitors. Zixera entered the lab, her skin pulsing with excitement. "Alex, the test results are in. The quantum entanglement drive is stable." Alex's face lit up with a broad smile. "That's incredible, Zixera. We're one step closer to cracking faster-than-light communication." The two friends shared a moment of triumph, marveling at how far they'd come. What had started as a desperate collaboration to save a planet had blossomed into a partnership that was pushing the boundaries of known science. "Elder Voxnim wants to see us," Zixera said, her tone becoming more serious. "I think it's about the Galactic Council proposal." Alex nodded, a mix of anticipation and nervousness settling in the pit of the human stomach. They had been working towards this moment for years, preparing Nestoria Prime to take its place among the stars. In the Grand Chamber, Elder Voxnim awaited them. The years had added more iridescent streaks to his skin, but his eyes were as sharp and curious as ever. "Alex, Zixera," he greeted them warmly. "I have news from our deep space relay station. The Galactic Council has responded to our petition." Alex held her breath. This was it, the moment that would determine whether the Gallians would be welcomed into the larger galactic community. Voxnin's skin rippled with joy. They have accepted. Nestoria Prime is to be granted probationary membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in flashes of bioluminescence as the assembled Gallians celebrated. Alex felt a surge of pride and accomplishment. This was more than just a diplomatic victory. It was the culmination of years of hard work and cultural exchange. "There's more," Voxnim continued, his gaze settling on Alex. "The Council has expressed particular interest in meeting you, Alex. It seems news of a human so far from Earth has piqued their curiosity." Alex blinked in surprise. "Me? But I'm not an official representative of Earth or anything." Zixera laid a gentle tentacle on Alex's shoulder. "You may not be official, but you are a bridge between our worlds. Your presence here has changed the course of our history. It's only fitting that you should be part of this next step." As the implication sank in, Alex felt a whirlwind of emotions. Excitement at the prospect of meeting other alien species, anxiety about representing both humanity and the Gallians, and a twinge of homesickness for an Earth that now seemed impossibly distant. "There is one other matter," Voxnim said, his tone becoming more solemn. "The Council has technology that could potentially return you to Earth, should you wish it." The chamber fell silent. Every Gallian present knew how much Alex had longed for home in those early days. But now, after 5 years, after all they had accomplished together, Alex looked around the room, at the faces of beings who had become more than colleagues or friends. They were family. The human's gaze lingered on Zixera, remembering countless late nights in the lab, shared victories and setbacks, the gradual understanding of each other's worlds. "Thank you, Elder," Alex said finally. "But if it's all the same to you, I think my place is here. Earth will always be my first home, but Nestoria Prime is my home now too. There's still so much we can accomplish together." The relief in the room was palpable. Zixera's skin flashed patterns of joy so bright they were almost blinding. Voxnim nodded, a smile playing at the edges of his mouth. "I had hoped you would say that." "Very well then. We shall prepare for our introduction to the Galactic Council." And Alex, "Yes, Elder. On behalf of all Gallians, thank you. Not just for saving our world, but for showing us a universe bigger than we ever dreamed." As Alex left the Grand Chamber with Zixera, the human's mind was already racing with ideas. There would be so much to do. Preparing cultural exchanges, adapting technologies, establishing protocols for interspecies communication. "What are you thinking?" Zixera asked, noticing the familiar look of concentration on her friend's face. Alex grinned. "I'm thinking we're going to need a bigger lab." Zixera's laughter echoed through the halls of the Interstellar Cooperation and Research Center. As they walked, discussing plans and possibilities, neither of them noticed the small group of young Gallians watching them with awe. "Is it true?" one of the younglings whispered. "Is that really the human who saved our world?" "It is," an older Gallian replied. "That small being changed everything. They say humans are like that. Tiny creatures who do impossible things." The young Gallians watched as Alex and Zixera disappeared around a corner, already deep in discussion about their next project. "Do you think we'll ever go to Earth?" another youngling asked. "Perhaps," the older Galian said, "but more importantly, Earth has already come to us. And the universe, little ones, will never be the same." As night fell on Astoria Prime, the twin suns dipping below the horizon in a spectacular display of color, Alex stood on the balcony of the research center. The sky was filled with stars, each one a potential adventure, a new world to explore. 5 years ago, Alex had been a lost engineer on an alien world. Now, the humans stood at the forefront of a new age of exploration and cooperation. It wasn't the life Alex had expected, but looking up at those stars, the human wouldn't have it any other way. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, new opportunities to bridge the gap between worlds. But for now, Alex simply stood there, a small figure against the vast cosmos, an unlikely hero who had found a home among the stars. The saga of Alex and the Galians was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And somewhere out there, in the depths of space, other worlds were waiting. Other civilizations were reaching for the stars. The universe, it seemed, was full of unlikely heroes. They just needed the chance to shine.